A student of mine sent me a quote from Lao-Tsu yesterday. And it struck home in such a big way that I wanted to start the class talk with it. It's very simple. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving until the right action arises by itself? I'm going to read it one more time. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving until the right action arises by itself? In a way, in a very simple way, that's what we're learning. Meditation is a practice of letting go, quieting down until the mud, the noise of the mind, the noise of the culture, the noise of the environment, the noise of your body gets quiet. And gravity works. And that mud slowly, 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 slowly goes down and settles. And what remains is clarity, the clear water, the clear mind, the ability to see great distances, a lack of cloudiness, a certain kind of awareness or knowing. Step one, sit still long enough for that to happen. If you are not trained, your mind, particularly, and your emotions will stir up the mud. Maybe regularly, maybe it's all you ever do. Stir it up. And it creates a lot of disturbance and a lot of not knowing and a lot of blind groping into your day and into your life. And you live in a blind state of moving through the mud of your own inner state. Again, sometimes the mud is without, it's outside you. And I said a moment ago, cultural mud, political mud, whatever it is, but it's a mud that for many of us keeps us, in a way, muddied and stirred up. So stillness allows the mud to settle. It may not settle the entire environmental landscape, but it can settle your particular state of being so that you can look at it without stirring it and see even the mud clearly. And when you see it clearly, your response to it may be different than when you're caught in it. So just being still is something worth doing. Because our culture teaches us distraction rather than stillness, because it keeps us involved and engaged in the drama of the world, stillness is a rarity for people. We get it in sleep, maybe, but day-to-day life, we tend to live in a stirred up environment. And the great gift of a meditation or a meditation teaching is it gives you a mechanism or a practice or something that helps you just sit still. If you can dive deep, you may discover that a lot of the mud is swirling on the surface, but that in the depth there is a certain clarity. But it helps to have enough stillness that even the surface clears and you have an expanded vision of what is. And it's interesting when you do that and it starts to clear up, you can look at other people because you can see them with your own clarity and you see them with their own swirls of mud going around. And you just look at them and go, wow, they're caught up in the mud. You can try, if you want to be friendly or teacherly or loving, to help quiet the stirred up mud around them so they can begin and look and see clearly. And what happens in the most magical and remarkable sense is when two people clear the mud or allow the mud to settle and they look at each other without the mud formation, what they see is themselves. The very self looking back. One of the great joys of clarity, of muddy disbursement, is you see what you're seeing as a totality. And you understand that the other and you are seeing the same thing. And even more brilliantly, you are the same thing. You are different sets of eyes staring at clarity and truly seeing one another. The second part of Lao-Tsu's statement is to stay still long enough for right action to arise. That takes training and discipline. To just sit still and go, now what? Is the mind stirring up things again. The mind trying to take control, trying to say, this is what I want, and this is what and it's all this ego-driven stuff. One of the great gifts of real stillness and clarity is a rising up of knowing what the right action is. It happens. You do not make it happen. You are not the generator of it. You are that which is moved by right action into cleaning your toothbrush before you put it away. Taking care of washing the dishes. Putting the toilet down for your significant other. Right action just happens. You don't cognate, think, stir up stuff to figure out what it might be. It's a natural way of surviving and being in the world. It is the best way of being in the world because everything you do will be guided by this uprising clarity of knowing what to do, what to feel, what to think. It happens. It just is a natural presentation. And its naturalness is the key to its beauty. You are a receptor of, or a witness of, the rightness of being. And when you simply surrender to it, it takes over. And I know I've been talking about this so much recently. The GPS system that I talk about in your heart or in your belly or in your head or in alignment, which is, of course, the best version of it, it just keeps going this, this, this. It loves things like economy of action. It loves things like loving people. It loves things like appreciation. It loves and relates to kindness and goodness. And you will feel that because it is a vibration inside that goes, it sort of feels like the reason you were born, to experience this exquisite sense of alignment, authenticity, attunement, a way of being that is completely and absolutely you. And when you meet other people who are on the same journey and who are arriving at the same thing, you will look at each other and you will recognize each other. And you will recognize each other and you will know this is a good person. This is an open person. This is a person in alignment with the self. And when you see and touch and know each other, you have this calm, joyful center and a profound appreciation for the other as yourself. And you know in a very real way, that's why you are here. That's why you were born, to witness the self in all of its forms. And times it will be shadowy and muddy, and you will see the others stirred up in ways that you completely forget who we are, who you are, what it is, how to get through the next step. That will come. Life is like that. We all know that. When that happens and it gets really muddy, what do? Lao-Tsu says, sit still, let the mud settle. If it's just in your own mind, and the mud is your own stirring up of whatever it is, I'm so bored, what do I do? Nobody loves me, I got all these problems. If you're stirring up the mud all the time, then you're in a way the victim of yourself. And all you can do and hope for is someone will come along like a Rudy who will say, you don't have to do that. Take a breath and ask for help to surrender, to let go. And you stop feeding the noise of the mind and you relax and you sit still, even though it's trying to yell at you and scream at you and do all of its normal things. You just go and you watch, and it goes, the mud settles. Sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes a week or a month, but it will settle. You need patience and you need the muscle to wait and let it do what it's going to do, but it will do it. If you quiet your mind, and the thing I've talked about a lot recently, not react to every stimulus, you will find the stimulus will move away and clarity will follow and the mud will start to dissipate and you will feel, oh, you can see again, you can feel again, you have a perception that is bigger than your own suffering. That is a great gift. That is what we look for. And then if we can create community around that, we have the best of all possible worlds. We're here, we're alive, we're sharing this knowing, this love, this appreciation for one another. Our differences become celebrated, and we just see who we are as a collective, as a continuum of being. And it is completely remarkable, completely. Now, introduced into all of this is the Buddhist idea of impermanence, which is probably one of the great factors in stirring up the mud. This kind of fear of the unknown future. Fear of the unknown future drives most of our lives. And I don't mean the future even in the ultimate sense. I mean tomorrow, 2 hours from now. This kind of discomfort about not trusting, actually, what the future is. And then if it gets existential, which it can, then what is the future? What is all this? Where is it headed? What's it going to? And of course, the one thing we know it's going to is we're going to lose all of it, every element of it. The body, the mind, the people we love, the air we breathe, the sky, the sun, the grass, the trees, it's all impermanent. And what do you do with that? we have what has emerged in our lives, something called religious doctrine. Religious doctrine is a way of various thoughts and people and schools giving us an idea of what the future is, basically, or of why we're here at all. It's a kind of strange synthesis of thoughts and ideas compounded in different cultures and in different ways that tries to help us understand the how and the why of it and make us comfortable. The idea that there will be heaven, or if you behave badly, something worse. There is enlightenment, awakening. There is a realization this is all an illusion, that none of this exists. There are so many schools and so many doctrines that tell us if you believe in this, you'll be comforted by this or that. And most of us adhere in some subtle way to one doctrine or another. For me, doctrinal thought has begun to completely dissipate. I have no ability at this point to grasp in a knowing way any belief system as true. This is awkward because it makes it hard to perhaps teach this class in ways that will make you comfortable, because I no longer know what's true. I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you that awakening and enlightenment are the ultimate. I cannot tell you that heaven awaits all of us, that there is life after death, that suffering will go away. I honestly, I have no idea. Which keeps bringing me back to, if the future is something I'm trying to think of all the time and figure out the hows and the whys and the whats and the whens of it all, that I am stirring my Mudscape in some way. And by letting that go, by not knowing, by not projecting, by not thinking there's something to attain or something to get to down the road that I can work for and work for and work for and work for, and maybe get my diploma and my graduate degree and my PhD, if I put all that aside, the only place I can get to without knowledge and without dogma, without intellect, the only place I can get to is quite simply where I am. Quite simply, right here. That's it. I don't know more than that. If anyone comes to me looking for dogmatic proof of or a belief system in some great future, I'm the wrong person. And there are a lot of people out there who will give that, and I tell you, probably weekly, go to those people if that's what you want. I will tell you the truth that I am knowing and experiencing is very limited to the fact of this is here now. This is real now. I don't know anything else. And I will tell you, when this is muddy, it is very unpleasant, hard to see, distracting, confusing, unsettling in a way. When I sit still or allow stillness to manifest, it gets clear. When it gets clear, I see you and experience a profound gratitude for your existence, a true love. And I cannot tell you, when I sit with you, like we do at this Zoom class or in person, which I prefer, that love is beyond tangible. It is so central, so massive, that I don't know that I can do anything with it other than know it. When I sit still and there's clarity and I look outside, there is environment. That environment outside me starts with my wife with my bedroom, and it expands into the bathroom and then out to the kitchen and then outside to get the paper, and then walking around and looking around and seeing with clarity this manifested presence that is impermanent. I know it's impermanent, but in the moment, it has such poignancy, such beauty, such absolute, authentic validity that I don't know what more to do. I walk into it and I go, thank you. Thank you. When it gets muddy, and it does, I have learned a number of things. One is climate changes, weather changes, seasons come and go, things grow and die. I know that. And at any given moment, I am watching something growing and something dying at every moment of my life. The snow now is gone and it's getting like really beautiful out. The trees haven't come back in yet, but they will. Blanche has gone out to the garden and I can feel her heart just expanding with the possibility of growing crops again and being part of that life experience. This is living in the present now. Does it have limited duration? Kind of. It will go away. What will happen to us at that moment? Dogma, there's a lot of dogma that will tell you, and you can believe it or not believe it. You can trust it or not trust it. I have been robbed of, and I don't think of it as being robbed, but I have been removed from dogma. And I really, really have no answers. I thought I did. I do have a abiding sense of the infinite, of the eternal. I cannot tell you what that is, but I know, like Rudy said, the guys upstairs are watching over us. I have that feeling. I don't have it as a fact, but I have that really powerful feeling that this thing has not arisen out of nothing and for no reason. This thing that we are in is beyond powerful, beyond wondrous, and beyond terrifying. Truly, the whole mix. And we can get any portion of that at any given time. So there's no certainty. There's no steps you can take to guarantee non-suffering. If anything, Buddha said everything in life is suffering. So how do you deal with that? Well, you have this moment. It may involve suffering. It may not involve suffering. You know, I've been describing my health issues recently, and there's some suffering going on. At the same time as that suffering is going on, I am so awed by the experience of being alive, of being present in the world, that I don't know what the future means. I mean, it could be absolutely limited in terms of duration. All I know is I wake up and I'm grateful to be here. If you wake up and your mind is noisy and there's no gratitude, sit still, spend half an hour, and let the mud settle. And get quiet, look out the window, see the day, see the world, feel the world, and see what comes with that. For me, what comes with that is gratitude. And then there's the injunction to let this thing arise, the right action arise. Right action is, and I'll put it in the simplest of terms because it's not something you do but will happen. And that is being good and being kind to others, to yourself, to others. Being good, being kind. Done. That's your life. That's your practice. You don't even have to do it. If you're aligned with the simplicity of being, if you have found the clarity of being and the stillness of being, this right action, which is caring for others, empathy for others, will arise naturally, as far as I can tell. It will be filled with goodness and kindness. And then out of that comes this exquisite sense of love of other, love of being, love of self, love of life. And it fills you, and that's your life. That's what you're living in. You're not living for the future. Your future is going to take all this away. And then you go, well, then what? I don't know what to say other than we'll find out. We will find out. And it may get painful. It may be full of struggle. It may be difficult. But I don't know if this is of any help or not, but spring comes, summer comes, fall comes, winter comes. Spring comes, summer comes, fall comes, winter comes. Sun rises, sun sets, sun rises, sun sets. That seems pretty simple. I don't know anything beyond that. So I've stopped, I've talked about awakening and enlightenment and liberation as though they are attainable things that will change the equation. They don't really change the equation. What they do is give you more gratitude and more insight, more clarity, and a better ability to deal with the mud. A better ability to go, oh my God, this is muddy, and sit with it until clarity returns. And it does. It gets muddy, it settles, it gets muddy, it settles, and you arrive at that aso. Here we are with this. But if you don't react to the muddiness, if you don't react to the madness of your own mind, angry at what's happening, and just go, it will naturally rise and settle. And the quieter you are, the sooner it will settle. That's all I can tell you. Your job, if you want a job, is sit still. There you go. That's your job. Sit still whenever you need to. Or be still. Live your life in stillness. Try that. Just walk around remembering even this and be still. It's an amazing gift. It's an amazing gift to be present. And it's the only truth. Dogma will give you future of some kind, and maybe you'll get there, maybe you won't. History and books and things will describe probably what happened at some point in some linear fashion. But what does it matter? I keep thinking that we live like in an anthill, and we're all little ants moving around, and somebody's kept a big record of that anthill, like it's important. Maybe it's important to the ants, but we're not that big. We're not that important. Our history shows one thing. We are creatures of habit that do the same thing pretty much over and over. When we get selfish and egoistic and we get possessive and we get cruel, we create drama and horrible things for people. When we get open and quiet and loving, we create new life, we create beauty, we create joy in this same space. That's all I know. And each one of us is responsible in our own way for getting rid of the mud or letting it settle. You don't get rid of it. Letting it settle, it will do it. Gravity works. Seeing the clarity operating as you are instructed by this rising energy of right action. It just takes over. It gives you a path forward day by day by day by day, even moment by moment by moment. And it is an exquisite path. That's all I know. So I'm going to leave you with that. It's a simple teaching. If there's so little to do, you can meditate every day, you can walk, you can do your breathing exercises, you can do all this stuff. But all that's important is if you are quiet and allow the mud to pull down and back into the source and let the clarity prevail, just look out from your very clear-minded eyes and see what's there and appreciate it. That's what we're here for. And this class will have nothing more to say than that. So for every one of you who gets it, click off. I will not see you again. You don't have to come back. I don't have another way of saying it, really. And I don't feel the need to say it repeatedly. On the other hand, I am told in my right action to keep talking. So that's what I'll do. The only other part of this is, if you weren't here, I would miss you. And that I honestly experience a love for each of you that is possibly maternal, possibly as big as or even bigger than what your mother felt for you or your father. And I don't know how or why that exists, but having you in my presence, in my life, this life, is what makes it worth my being here. And I just want to share with you this exquisite kind of connectivity because it is such a reason for being. And that's pretty much it. So thank you. Thank you for showing up. If I don't see you next time, I'll know why. But if you do keep coming around, I will be here, and I will hug you as deeply and as completely as I can. Any questions from anybody? George?
I can't ask you a question because you don't have any answers. So
That's true. That's true.
I love you, Bruce. Thank you.
Again?
I said I love you and thank you.
Yeah, I love you too, George. Thank you. Yeah, no, I have no answers. So just sit still. Okay, I'm glad you all woke up early today. I didn't expect to see so many people setting their clocks forward. So thank you for being here. Tara, I don't know what time it is for you there, but thank you for showing up. I'll be back in 2 weeks with the New York class. And as I'm saying, somewhere in the next month or two or whatever, hopefully we can begin classes in person if all goes well for those of you who are nearby. So we'll talk. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy was that a question, Sergio, or is that a goodbye? Okay. Okay. Have a great day. Enjoy the extra light tonight. Go for a long walk and have fun.